Most restoration business owners will never break $3 million a year. Not because they're lazy, not because the market's bad, but because they're building a job company, not a real business. I've watched restoration business owners live the same stressful year for 10 times in a row, while their counterparts in the same market with the same referral sources went from 0 to 8 figures within 3 years. In this video, I want to break down the 7 levels of a restoration company. From the very start of I'm on the truck to the end of the journey where you're an actual restoration empire builder. And I want to show you exactly where you are on this journey, why you're stuck there, and exactly what you need to focus on to break through to the next level. You'll be able to self-diagnose what level you're at and walk away with one clear move that will change everything for you in the next 12 months. Just some quick context for those of you that don't know me. I'm Duta. I've grown and scaled a restoration company to over 8 figures. I currently serve as a CEO with thousands of restoration business owners that use our platform, Albeware. I also run a group restoration mastermind with over 100 restoration business owners in it, and also invest in world-class restoration companies. So pretty much everything restoration. I've seen so many different patterns throughout different restoration companies, and I'm excited to share these with you. I've seen companies go from 0 to $3 million in their first year with stupid margins. And I've also seen companies that have taken 10 years and gone bankrupt. I've also watched owners with 10 years of experience, 10 trucks, and big revenue be afraid of making payroll because their foundation was trash. And the pattern is the same every single time. Revenue exposes the cracks within your foundation. And the more revenue you've got, the more likely it is that your foundation is going to implode. More jobs just means more chaos if you don't fix the underlying level. So let's go through the 7 levels of restoration and what it actually takes to grow and scale a business without wrecking your health, your sanity, or your marriage. Level 1, the firefighter, from 0 to about $1 million of revenue. At level 1, you're literally the firefighter. You're answering the phone, you're going out to the job sites, you're writing the estimates, you're collecting the checks, you're actually doing the work yourself. It's ground zero, it's a humbling experience, it's absolutely awesome, and every single restorer goes through that phase. But it feels exciting until it doesn't. Now here are some key signs to know whether you're currently at level 1 or not. Signs you're at level 1. The phone is your cell. That's the office line. That's what everybody calls. You say yes to every single job because we need the work to come in, and more jobs means we're growing the business. No matter what kind of job it is, mold, emergency services, rebuild, contents. You price emotionally and you play whatever game the homeowner wants. You're signing some work authorization and giving away the farm. You don't even have a real contract with the homeowner. There's no estimate. You just want to get that job because you're afraid there's actually not as many jobs out there for you to have. And if you get sick for 2 weeks, you're out of business. Your revenue literally dips. The entire business is literally reliant on you and your talent. Your job at this level is not to do more jobs. Your job is actually threefold at this level. Number 1 is to choose the game that you want to play. And in my opinion, there are so many different games you could play as a restorer, and it's up to you to just choose the game that you're most likely to win. Like by default, you're set up for success. And to me, that game is following the Restoration Millionaire method that I outlined in my book. You can find a link below, but it's a step-by-step sequence at which you add different service offerings and you focus on different things. So for example, when you go from 0 to 1 million, it's all about focusing on emergency services only and focusing on online marketing only. That way you're in control of the most profitable type of work and the best type of referral source for that time within the game. The second part of setting the game right is setting your pricing right. You want to go in there and actually estimate a job for what a job is worth, get a signed contract with an actual dollar amount, and in the early days, even get some sort of deposit or get paid in full. If a homeowner signs an estimate with a dollar amount for the work that you're about to produce and pays you 50% down and 50% after completion, just like a plumber or an HVAC person gets paid, that becomes cost incurred, and the entire conversation with the insurance adjuster goes out the window. So imagine a game where you don't have to worry about collecting money, at least in the infancy of your business. Just by setting the game right and having the proper contracts and actually giving a price out and getting paid up front and not playing the insurance game, you're not going to have any cash flow nightmares. And there's thousands of restorers out there that are deploying this. The second thing you want to do at this phase is standardize production. Find a simple way to have your workflow from the minute the phone rings to the minute the COC is signed to the minute the job is paid in full, and have that step by step. You can use an app like Lucidchart to actually outline everything step by step. And in fact, I've got a water mitigation SOP that I can give you away for free. It's actually going to be in a link below. You could just copy that and then just add your own tweaks to it. But you want to standardize everything so that way when you get to step number 3, everybody has this simple process to follow. You can't scale chaos, but you can scale repeatable systems. And the third thing you want to do to get out of that firefighter phase is to learn the principle of buy back your time. My mentor, Dan Martell, wrote an incredible book called Buy Back Your Time. You could read it on a plane ride and implement everything within your business. But essentially, the restoration boiled down version of it is the following. You only need 3 key hires to get to over $1 million of revenue to get out of this phase. Hire number 1 is a crew chief who can actually be the lead technician and knows what to do within the job site. Hire number 2 is a technician to help the crew chief produce the work. And hire number 3 is an executive assistant who does everything that you are responsible to do as the owner, but intercepts everything before it gets onto your plate. And if you're able to hire those 3 key hires, your life will change dramatically. And I know when you look in the restoration industry, many people recommend hiring project managers and office coordinators, and a lot of times we want to even hire a general manager. But when you're under $1 million of revenue, those are the only 3 hires you need. If you're under $1 million of revenue, your main job is not to get more jobs. Your main job is to get yourself out of the truck so that way you can work on the business, not in the business. If you skip this, every other level becomes a nightmare. Which brings me to level number 2, the job company. That happens typically between $1 million and $3 million of revenue. Level 2 is where most restoration business owners get stuck forever. You've got 2 to 3 trucks, a handful of techs, maybe a project manager and an estimator, but every single decision still flows through you. You're no longer just a firefighter. You're actually the chief firefighter. Here are some signs that you're at level 2 if you're listening to this video. You're busy as hell. You feel like you're very profitable, but your bank account just doesn't show it. Your AR is bloated and you're basically acting like a bank for your customers' projects. You're still personally chasing adjusters and it feels like a pain to get that money out of the adjuster's hands instead of having a streamlined collections process. You think you have a business, but all you really have is a stack of jobs and a tired business owner. To break out of level 2, you don't need more jobs or more revenue. You need systems in these 3 key areas. Area number 1 is actually collections. And my favorite thing that I recommend for everybody to deploy to get your collections down is called the 48-hour rule. Most business owners take forever to collect because on average, a job file takes about 15 to 20 touches to get paid. And if you wait 4 to 5 days in between the 15 to 20 touches, you could easily wait 100 and some days to get paid. But if you shorten the time on those 15 touches to 48 hours or 2 days, you'll get paid in sub 30 days. And the rule is very simple. You invoice a job within 48 hours of completion, and then you follow up on that job with all materially interested parties every single 48 hours until it gets paid. No emotion. No, I don't want to bug them. You did the work. That's your hard-earned money, and you deserve to get paid. The second thing you need is an operating system, and that consists of 2 main components. Some sort of software system to be able to track everything, and some sort of operating rhythm, like EOS is my favorite one, to have a cadence to work with your team. If you don't track things, you can't fix things. Weekly, you should be meeting with your entire team and you should have everything in one sheet. And it should be a simple sheet. Don't overcomplicate this. From how many jobs did you start? How many jobs did you complete? What was your average gross margin? How many days did jobs sit in there? How much cash do you have in the bank? And so on and so forth. At Albi, we actually have an overview dashboard that every single customer gets with every single metric. And it's very simple, boiled down to about 12 metrics. So that's the seeing it part. And then you need to have a rhythm of execution, i.e. EOS. And you can read the book, What the Heck is EOS? But essentially a weekly meeting where you basically go through the entire scorecard and you ask yourself what's broken, then you problem solve what's broken with the entire team. If you're allergic to numbers, you're allergic to profit. Most restoration business owners get stuck at this stage because they don't have the foundation of their numbers and they don't have any sort of collaboration in place to actually fix the problems within their business. The third thing that you're going to need to get to that $3 million mark is another fishing hole within the Restoration Millionaire method. And that's essentially one referral source. Whether it's plumbers, agents, or property managers, you need to get one of these people referring you work. And the mechanism I like thinking about is free trust jobs. You want to lead in with a hook of free value to be able to gain the trust of those referrers within your network so that way you convert that trust into jobs. The way this looks like is free emergency response plans for property managers, free flood cleanups for plumbers when they screw up, free lunch and learns for insurance agents. You're not pitching on these. You're basically serving that community, and that builds trust. And then once you have that trust, who do they call at 2 a.m.? The person who gave them tremendous value. And all those three are your level 2 growth unlock. Which brings me to level 3, the restoration growth machine. And this happens between $3 and $7 million of revenue. Now we're at the fun part. At level 3, you realize lead flow is actually a system, not a mystery. You probably have a couple of good referral partners within a vertical like plumbing, for example. And you also have mastered some sort of online marketing with your PPC agency, and that's been humming along. To go from $3 to $7 million, you don't need completely new moves. You need more of what's already working done with purpose. Think of this as if you're adding more fuel to an already sparked fire. So the first thing that you should do is expand your referral partners. Remember the fishing holes we talked about in the previous chapter? Well, essentially, you're gonna do the same exact thing that you did to attract plumbers with insurance agents and property managers. You're essentially going to hire different BDRs to go after these different verticals and use the same tactics and the same techniques of the route stops and such with these different referral sources. If you want to hear more about referral source marketing, we actually did a video down below on how to boost and supercharge your sales. The second thing that you're going to do, and I strongly suggest everybody waits until they're $3 to $7 million to unlock this, is now you could start layering in different service offerings. If you're running a $5 million mitigation only business, you can flip the switch like this and get to $10 million by offering rebuild. And if you build it the right way, that mitigation business should be running by itself, giving you as the owner the time, energy, and effort to go and stand up this reconstruction division. If you make the mistake, like I did, and do it early on, then you're in a pickle because you're trying to juggle all of these different departments. But new service offerings like contents and reconstruction to be a bolt-on to your core business is an absolute beautiful way to grow through this phase. We even layered on exterior restoration as well when we unlocked insurance agents. When all the door knockers were knocking on people's houses to sell them a new roof, the homeowners were actually calling their insurance agents and asking them if these people were legitimate or not. And we got the insurance agents to call us out to go inspect their roofs. And of course, we built the trust, so we ended up getting the jobs. And the third part about this phase is knowing your numbers. The amount of restoration business owners that don't know their numbers, like customer acquisition cost, gross margin, contribution margin, net profit, and so on and so forth, is absolutely astonishing. If you don't know your numbers per every single department and down to every single role, and you don't know how much revenue you're expecting out of the different positions, you're gonna be set up for failure. So it's very important to know every single number and kind of how everything ties together and the leading and lagging indicators. We actually have a restoration by the numbers training in the link below if you want to check that out, where we dive deeply into this. So from 3 to 7 million, you're knowing your numbers very well and you're expanding your different service offerings and your different referral sources that you're servicing. And that brings us to level 4, the real CEO. And this is magical. It happens between $7 and $15 million worth of revenue. And this is where you as a restorer become more of a CEO and less of a restorer. It's really fun. You essentially stop being the chief firefighter and you become an actual CEO. At this level, the business cannot be you and it actually can't run through you. Like, you need to build a leadership team that is actually running the business, and just a little bit of your decision-making power and a little bit of your DNA actually instilled throughout the business. And most people grow the business that they actually hate because they get this part wrong. I can't tell you how many $15 million a year businesses I see where the owner literally wants to pull their hair out. You need to build the people to build the business. You need to build the leaders and you need to build rhythms at this stage. So the first thing that I think is crucial to understand at this stage is the decision ladder. The reason you're gonna get stuck and stalled at this stage is because every single decision within your company would have to go through you. Can we buy this new truck? Can I comp this line item? Can we give this plumber a higher referral fee? You can't scale to over 8 figures if you're making every $200 decision. So You implement a decision ladder that empowers people to make decisions, and it trains them to be way better leaders, and it also buys back your time. So every single technician can spend $500 to solve a problem. Every single manager can spend $5,000 to solve a problem. And every single VP or general manager can spend up to $50,000 to solve a problem. They just need to document these things and actually tell their leader that they actually made that decision. And this does two things. One, it empowers your team to solve problems fast. Two, it creates a feedback loop where now people are taking ownership, they're making decisions, and they're learning from them. And it also gives you a feedback loop so that way you can get to the root of problems and put out fires as needed. The second thing that you need at this phase is leadership rhythms. And most restoration companies have no rhythm of execution. It's just pure chaos. And they end up getting pulled into a million different directions, and there's no real intentionality on how they're building the business. If you install the EOS framework on steroids throughout your entire company, it will be the best way that you could absolutely crush it. And the way this looks like is every single department has their own EOS L10 meeting, and then you have a manager's L10 meeting, and then you have an ownership L10 meeting. So you have 3 layers of rhythms that happen every single day, every single week, rolling up into months, and rolling up into quarters. Every single day, every team has a 15-minute huddle, which is a quick stand-up, where there's quick announcements and everybody's energized and ready to go. Every single week, every single department has an L10 meeting, which is about a 60 to 90 minute meeting where people are reviewing their scorecard, their performance, they identify, discuss, and solve issues, and then they give a feedback loop. Every single month, you do a month recap and you do a retro of the previous month and a forward thinking of the future month. And then you do that quarterly as well. And then the leadership team on a quarterly basis gets together to do a retreat or an offsite for 2 days and does the same exact thing. And on an annual basis, the leadership team does the same thing to put together their plan for the following year. And then board level and ownership level wise, you do the same exact thing that the leadership team is doing. If you want to get past $10 million in restoration without losing your mind, you need leaders and rhythms. That's it. Otherwise, every single road is going to lead to you, and you're going to be the massive bottleneck of your company. And now we get to level 5, the professional restoration operator. And this happens between $15 and $30 million of revenue. At this stage, you're no longer just a contractor. You're running a real company that is worth millions of dollars. And you could choose to sell, or you can choose to do what most of our boardroom clients do, stay on and keep growing the company. You need 3 things: people, playbooks, and process at this stage. Number 1, people. You don't need just loyal employees. You need leaders who make your life easier and are attached to the business outcomes. Ask yourself, do my leaders actually bring solutions and playbooks, or are they just coming to me with problems? Are they teaching me things? Am I learning from them, or am I teaching them everything? If I left for 30 days, would my revenue continue on growing? Or would my entire company stall? The roles you need at this level is somebody to serve the GM role or the general manager role to run all the different department managers. And typically you'll have a department manager for every single department, from emergency services to contents to reconstruction to sales to administrative. You'll need a people leader, especially if you're planning on growing, somebody to handle the recruiting function. And then you'll also need a CFO or a controller that can handle your finance function. Because in business, you really just have 2 funnels. You have your customer funnel, which is basically everything from acquiring customers all the way down to spitting out profit. You have your people funnel, which is essentially hiring people to fill the seats to be able to produce. And then you have a finance function that essentially oversees the entire business. And having those 3 key leaders working together on the executive level will help you get from 15 to 30 million. Number 2, playbooks. You want to replace your heroics with systems. Every part of your restoration company should have a documented way of winning. From the minute the phone rings, to the way the job gets done, to the way you collect, to the way you invoice, to the way you hire, train, and fire employees. All of that should be documented at this stage. But here's the catch. If you're growing 30 to 40% every single year, your playbooks are going to change every single 6 to 12 months. You don't write an SOP once and then worship it forever. You train the team to use SOPs as living documents, and you're constantly changing the way you're doing business as you're growing the organization. You're essentially creating a culture where leaders are updating the way that you guys win. Number 3, profit. Grow the right numbers. At this level, revenue means absolutely nothing. And you need to go down to the bottom of the business, the net income of the business. That's what dictates enterprise value. That's what keeps the lights on. And the best businesses that win have really high net income or EBITDA margins. And you also want to get more sophisticated on all the lagging indicators above the EBITDA line so you know if your EBITDA is dropping, why it's dropping. Things like customer acquisition cost, overhead, cost of goods sold, gross margin, and so on and so forth. And you make data-driven decisions. For example, our EBITDA dropped last month because we overspent on online marketing. It produced a bunch of leads, but we weren't able to close the leads. So this month, we're actually going to focus our entire sales staff on closing more leads. There's no more shooting from the hip. You're becoming a professional operator. Everyone has a scorecard, and clarity kills the drama. Which brings me to level 6, the architect. From $30 to $60 million a year of revenue. And this is the phase that we're actually currently in at Longview Restoration. It's absolutely fun. At this phase, you get to play a completely different game. You stop thinking in years and you start thinking in decades. You build moats around your business so that way competitors just can't copy you. And in restoration, your moats are the following. Number 1 is your brand. And your brand is not your logo. It's what your customers, your referral partners, and your community feels when they see or hear about your name. And number 2 is data. Your data is literally a gold mine. And the people that are going to win in restoration at the $30 to $60 million level are the people that understand how to apply agentic AI to their existing data to be able to do way more revenue with the same amount of employees. And all of those codes that you're able to put into the different agents or robots running around become your intellectual property that other people can't replicate. And that's what adds massive value to your business. Imagine building a restoration company that's doing $2 to $3 million of revenue per employee, meaning you're literally a $60 million company with 30 or so employees. That's actually happening within the restoration space, and that's what differentiates the world-class restoration companies from the non-world-class restoration companies. At this stage, everyone's chasing a hack, everyone's complaining about what the market is doing, but you're building the infrastructure and the advantages that they cannot see. Which brings me to level 7, the final level, the final frontier, which I call the restoration empire builder, and that's what I wish each and every one of you guys watching this video will actually build. And that's $60 million plus of restoration revenue, which is actually quite common, but also because this industry is fragmented, you just don't hear about it that much. But like my desire is that local operators like you watching this video right now can build the empire and not have necessarily just the PE aggregators or the blue skies of the world coming in and scooping everybody up. I think you can build this empire as well. And at this point, you're not just a restoration business owner. You're an investor and a talent magnet, and you've got a strong mission and vision that just brings people together. One of our clients in both Evolve and at Albi is building the Green State Restoration Mafia. His dream is literally to replicate what Elon Musk and Peter Thiel did with PayPal in restoration and essentially create this network of people that are building generational wealth and legacy by working together. At this point, as an empire builder, you're literally building the machine that builds machines. And your job literally becomes picking the right people, investing in the right people and deploying the capital, and casting a bigger vision every single time. My favorite quote of all time that kind of fits this is that you dream so big that if your dreams came true, you'd have zero doubt that God exists. And at this level, your most precious resource isn't actually money. When you build a company this big, you can literally go to the bank and borrow 10, 20, $30 million. Money becomes no problem. It's actually your attention and your knowledge of where to actually park that cash. And 40% of your time and attention should be dedicated on people. Recruiting A-plus players that are not in your team yet, and chances are they're from outside of the restoration industry and you want to convince them to work in this gold mine of an industry. Mentoring your top leaders to make sure they become even better. And building a bench of future GMs, COOs, and integrators across your different locations. The other 40% of your attention is going to be spent on where do you actually deploy the capital that you now have. You're going to have to form strategic bets and decide where you're spending that capital. Is it new locations? Is it acquiring smaller restoration companies? Is it owning warehouses or real estate? Is it launching adjacent services like plumbing brands or roofing brands? And then the last 20% of your time is going to be spent on vision. You want to paint a clear picture of where you're going as a company, where the company will be in the next 10 years, who wins with you, and why should they stick around for the ride, and why it matters beyond just the money. Your calendar is no longer packed with 37 tactical meetings or 37 jobs that you actually have to go see and scope. It's open enough to where if there's a needle moving problem, you can dive in and actually solve it, but then you have the ability to zoom back out and take a look at the entire big picture. And the fun part here is that the definition of an empire builder is a life of infinite creation that you never have to retire from. You will literally have the business of your dreams and you won't need to retire from that. So bringing it all back, most restoration business owners live the same life for 10, 20, 30 years. The same stress, the same drama, and the same revenue. New trucks, but the same problems. And here's the thing, you don't have to. You can break through each one of these levels and you can build a business that you absolutely love, and you can build the restoration empire. And the beautiful part is each level only has 1 to 2 constraints. And if you fix that, you could unlock the next level. Sometimes what took you 5 years to crawl through, you can actually help your team move through in 6 to 12 months because you've already been there. You've already seen that script. So here's what I want you to do. Drop a comment below as to the number one thing that stood out the most to you and what you needed to hear the most, and what you're committed to in building. And if you need more help, you could always email me at alex.duta@lbhq.com. No upsell, no sales. It'll come to me, and I'll try my best to help you out. Because I genuinely believe that restoration, when done right, is one of the fastest paths to wealth and freedom creation in the world. And I think each and every one of you guys deserve to have that. And if you want more videos like this and you like this, I would love for you to give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side.